Hey guys, so today I want to show you something I've been using for many years. It is my Range Breakout Expert Advisor, and in this video we will code a simple version of it. I've been using this program for many years with great success in my life and FTMO accounts. So before we start getting into detail, below this video you will already find links to my website where you can get a final, more advanced version of the program that you can use for free with my partner brokers.
This video is presented by BM Trading. Learn to code your own expert advisors. Link in the description.
So here you can see a long-term backtest already of the strategy. And actually the strategy is very simple. It can be used to identify breakout zones in the morning, usually of a day, just between 2 points in time. And then if the price jumps above or below this range, we do take a trade and hold it until the end of the day. That's how I trade it. You could of course trade it differently, but that's also what we will code in this video today. So by the end of this video, you will have a fully functioning expert advisor. In this video, we will learn how to find the range, how to determine or find out if there was a breakout, how to open the trades, and also of course how to close the trades by the end of the day. Also, we will have a little look how you can use the program in the strategy tester. So yeah, you can just do your own test before you use the program, maybe in your accounts. So yeah, I hope you're curious and want to learn more about this. And also at the very end of the video, I will show you some of the settings that I use and that have proven to be very good in the last 1.5 years that I trade the strategy now in my live account. So again, if you want to use the fully functioning program already, check out the links below this video. But for everyone who really wants to learn how you can code something like this, just a very simple version, make sure to follow along, watch the whole video to get the program for yourself, and also then you will be able to adjust the code if you want that. So let's go in the MetaTrader. So there we go. Here in the MetaTrader, whenever we want to write a program, we can go to Tools in the upper left corner, click on MetaQuotes Language Editor. So this will open the integrated development environment, and we can use this program to create programs or executables for the MetaTrader 5. So here again in the upper left corner, we can click on New, click on Expert Advisor Template, click on Next, and then we can choose any name. I will just go with Range Breakout YouTube. You can choose any name you like, of course, doesn't have to be the same. Then click on Next, Next, and Finish. Or actually the on timer function here we don't need. It was pre-selected for me, but we don't need any of these actually. So Next, Next, and Finish, and this will create a brand new expert advisor. We do have a bunch of these lines that starts with 2 slashes in the beginning. We don't need those because they are just comments and they do not really affect the actual code or the logic of the program. And then personally, I like to rearrange my curly brackets a little bit like this. So then in the top, or at the top, we do have 3 lines with properties. Also, these properties do not have an impact on the program, so we don't need it. So this is our base skeleton pretty much for our expert advisor. Just 3 basic so-called event handling functions. They will be triggered by the MetaTrader on special occasions. For example, the on init is called if the program is activated, on dnit if the program is deactivated, and the on tick with every single tick. So the first task that we have here is to figure out where the range really is at the between 2 points in time. So what we want to do here is to give the user a lot of flexibility. We want to create some input variables for this, and usually I go with you can choose any name. We can choose, for example, range time or range time hour start, and then we can choose something like from 3, and then we can go range time minute start, could be 0. Input end range time hour end could be 6, and range time minute end could be 0. So what did I do here? I created 4 input variables. For input variables, it's very important that they are declared outside of any of these functions, because they are the variables that the user will be able to change. So if you now click compile here and go back to your MetaTrader, we should be able to find the program already in the navigator in the Expert Advisor tab. So here you can find the Range Breakout YouTube program, and if you drag it on any chart, you will find the inputs list. And these are exactly the variables that I declared here with the default values that I chose. All of these values are integer values, which means that they are whole numbers like any of those here. And yeah, they cannot have a decimal point. And then this is just the name for the variable. We need the equal sign here to assign standard values or default values. The default values are chosen here, and then we end a line always or a statement with a semicolon. This is it. So we can use these 4 values now to create the actual or to get the actual times for the range. But before we do this, we want to create 2 more, and we can say trading and hour could be 80 and input and trading and minute could be 0. So this means the range should be from 3 to 6, and we stop trading and delete open orders whenever we have some at 6 p.m. so 18 o'clock. So what we want to do next is we want to actually calculate these times, and whenever we want to work with times efficiently in the MetaTrader 5, there is a specific variable data type for this. It's the datetime data type, and if you move your mouse cursor inside of any word that has a meaning, which is like a function name or a variable type, if you move your cursor inside of this and press F1 on your keyboard, it should open the reference. You can also go to tools or to help, I think, mql5 reference, and it should also open it. And here you can read about everything pretty much that's important for the mql5 programming language and the framework. And here you can see the datetime type is just a specific variable data type, and it is always interpreted by the MetaTrader in an amount of seconds starting from the 1st January of 1970. So it will exactly give you the point in time, measured in seconds since this time here. So it's basically, again, just any number like this, but usually very huge numbers, because there were a lot of seconds already that elapsed since the 1st January of 1970. So we want to create 3 variables here actually. We want to say range time start, we want to say range time end, and we want to say trading end or trading time end. I don't know, maybe like this, or just trading end. Actually, we don't need, I don't like it if the names are too long, so let's just get rid of the time here. Okay, so we create these 3 variables here, and please note again that this is declared outside of any of these functions, which makes these variables automatically global variables, so we will be able to use them anywhere in our program, so in any function, and just everywhere. And this is important because we will create a default function to fill all of these variables with logical values. So again, these are datetime variables. You can declare it like this in one line separated by commas, or you can also do it in multiple lines like this. It's not that there is a better way, it's just a personal preference. Some will do it like this, some will do it in one line. So if we compile this again, you will see, if we go back to our program in the MetaTrader, these variables do not show up here because they are not input variables, and this is what the difference this variable modifier input makes. But these variables are global variables, so it means we can use them in any of these functions, but we can also create our own function. And I want to create my own function and say calculate times, for example. If you declare your own function, you always do it outside of any other function, of course. And then, on this global scale again. And here you first of all declare a return type. Every function needs to have a return type, which can be any variable type or void. Void is pretty much means that this function does not return anything, which is usually used for functions that, for example, update global variables or are just used to print something. Then you can use the void data type. Then we choose a name for a function. Usually I choose the camel case naming convention here, which means that I do create a name that starts with a lowercase letter, and then every new word, so to say, in the variable name starts with a uppercase letter. This is, by the way, also the convention I use for variable names, and here I always go with small letters for the first word and then capital letters from that point on. The only exception I make big is for input variables. Here I always use capital letters for every word, even for the first word in a variable name. But this is not really like set in stone. You will find code from other programmers, for example, who handle this a little bit differently. This is just my personal style. So in this calculate times function, I now want to take these input variables because they come from the user. So the user really can define what range he wants to trade. And then I will turn them into actual datetime variables that we can then use easily in the rest of our code to just check the times and react to them. So whenever we do something like this, the easiest way to do it is to use the MQL datetime structure, or its structure in general in MetaTrader 5 programming, or also many other programming languages. It is just a bunch of predefined variables. So this structure, you can see it just as a container pretty much for all of these variables that are defined here. So the MQL datetime structure is defined in the mql5 framework, and as I said, you can read about it in the reference. So what we want to do now is, like, when we declare the structure like this, it will have these variables, but the variables do not have meaningful values. They are empty or have random values assigned. I think they are empty in MetaTrader 5 coding language. So what we want to do is we want to call the time current function and provide the DT MQL datetime structure as a parameter for this function. So the time current function looks like this. Again, I opened the reference with a press of the F1 button. It will return the current time, the current server time in the moment that your program is running and the time current function was called. So this means that we then get the current time as a datetime variable. We could use this variable then or this value to work with, but also you can see we can also call the time current function and provide a parameter, because the time current function can be called with two different signatures. So first is if we do not provide any parameter, but we can also provide the reference to a MQL datetime structure. And this is what we did here. We provided our structure as a parameter, which then means, you can read about it here again, that the time current function will fill all of the variables that were empty until this point in the datetime structure with meaningful values, and these values will then always be for the current point in time when the time current function is called. So this means for us that we do get all of the right values for the current year, for the current months, for the current day, for the current hour, for the current minute, second, day of week, day of year. So how does this look like? We can say, for example, we want to print the datetime structure. I'm not sure if it works like this. Can I? Okay, but let's do it manually. Let's just print some of these values like this. And by the way, I'm using the print function here, which means that all of this stuff is printed then in the experts journal. So if I now activate the program, you will see that nothing will happen, but I'm doing this to explain one more thing about functions. So I can activate my program here, and you will see, in the experts journal, it should print something, right? But there's nothing, and this is because the calculate times function is not called. But what I can do is, for example, in the onInit function, which again is a event handling function. So the onInit function is called by the MetaTrader itself when the program is activated. And inside of this function, I can now call my own function. If you want to call your own function or any function, you just call it by the function name, provide all of the necessary parameters. In this case, there are no parameters requested, and then end the line with a semicolon to have a complete statement. So if I compile again, now you can see there are some print statements here. And if you watch my calendar at the lower right corner of the screen, you can see it's the 25th of August right now. 12, or the server time is 12. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. But it is accurate. So it's 12:54 when I call the program, or no, it's 55, and the seconds are also printed. So you can see all of the values in the datetime structure are now filled with good values. And this is helpful because now we can just overwrite a few of them with our input variables and then transform it again or back to a datetime value. So what we want to do is we want to update the hour, and here we go with the range hour for the start, and then we want to update the minute, range minute start, like this. Okay, I just realized usually I like to have it in this order, and this is just personal preference. It does not really change the program. It's just how I like to name my variables to keep it consistent and in the way that I like it. So I usually like this order. So here I go, range start hour and range start minute. And this will just overwrite the two variables, the hour and the minute, in this datetime structure. The rest stays the same. So now I can say range start hour. And by the way, range time start, range time start. And here I can now say struct to time. And the struct to time function, it does pretty much the reversed conversion. It takes a structure as a parameter and then pushes out a datetime value. So we will give the datetime structure to the structure to time function. It will process this and it will return a datetime value. So just a pretty huge number, the amount of seconds that elapsed since the 1st January of 1970, and we store this value in the range time start. So if we again print this range time start, you will see it is now a meaningful value, and it is like, oh, by the way, we also need to change the seconds here. I want to overwrite the seconds to 0. And now you can see it will give me for the current day the range starting time. And now I can do the same, of course, for the range end hour, and datetime minute, range and min. And then range time end will be again struct to time, but the value that is put out of this will be different, because now we changed these two variables in the structure. So you can see, I forgot some semicolon, I think. Oh yeah, this has to be a comma. And now you can see I get the range start time and the range end time. And this is super good. And now I just have to repeat this one more time, and you can guess already what I want to do. Trade end, what's the name? Trading end hour and trading end minute, and then range time, trading time end, trading time, it should be trading time end, right? Range time, trading time end. Yeah, the variable names are not like super important, they should just make sense. Struct to time, date time again, and this will now give us also the trading time end, and this will always give the times for the current day. So you can see this is working, and this is super cool, because now we will always update all of these values whenever we call the calculate times function. So of course we don't really want to do it only in the onInit, but we would theoretically do it in the onTick function. So with every tick, we just get the times for the current day. So now what we can do next is we want to create the range. So what we can do here is we can create another function which will be called calculate range. So next to the calculate times function, we will get the calculate range function. So here in this calculate range function, we will update some more global variables like range high. We want to have the range low. And do we want to have the range size? Don't really need this, I think, as a global variable, but not now. And yeah, these are the variables that we want now. So since we do have the range start and end time, what we can do now in the calculate range function, we want to get all of the bars inside of this range, or all of the highs and lows more specifically. So here what we want to do is we want to say copy high. The copy high function is a function that will give us a bunch of high values for bars in the chart. For example, we could say for these, 70 bars, I want to have all of the high prices and store them in a so-called array. An array is a little bit different. It's not a normal variable. It is or it can hold a bunch of variables of the same data type. So the declaration is really similar to how we learned it before. We just define the variable type, then we choose a name, but then we also add these squared brackets. So if we would not do this, we would just have a normal double variable. And double variables, they can hold values like this, any value with a decimal point pretty much, and this would be totally fine. But here instead we do have a array, which means that if we say highest is equal to this, it will not work anymore, because now we get an error because there's an invalid array access, because arrays always need to define at which position in the array we want to put the value, because arrays can hold, for example, 10 different values like this, or they can be of a undefined size, and that's actually what we want to do. So we want to have an array of an undefined size, and then we want to call the copy high function to fill this array. Because if we have a look at the reference, the copy high function, it requests a array as a parameter, which means that we do have to provide our highest array here. And then it will just fill all of the highs of a bunch of bars inside of this array. So what bars do we want to have specifically? Here we can work with the start time and the stop time. That's easiest for us because we do have these 2 times. So let's have a look at the list here. First of all, we need to define the symbol that we want to get the highs for. Here we will just use underscore symbol, because this variable always contains the symbol name of the current chart. So if we run in XAUUSD, it will give us XAUUSD, so gold. Then we need to define the time frame. Here personally, for this specific program, I would just go with period M1, the 1 minute time frame. Then we need the starting position, and here you can see we can also provide a start time and a stop time. And I don't actually know in which order this is requested. Start, date and time for the first element to copy, for the last element to copy. I mean, you can read about all of this. Start time last Tuesday, last Friday. Yeah, let's go with time, range start time, wait, what's the name of my variable? Range time start. Range time start and range time end. And then last but not least, we provide the highs array. So now we will have all of the highs in this array, and now we want to do the same thing for the lows. Here we use the copy lows function, or copy low, which is pretty much the same just for lows, because we want to have all of the highs and the lows between these 2 points in time. And then next we can use we want to get the index of the highest and lowest value in these arrays. I explained before, like when we work with arrays, we always have to define the index like this. For example, this would be the third value in the array, this would be the second value, this would be the first value in the array, and yeah, like this we can use indices to address specific values, or yeah, specific memory in the end in this array. So what we want to do is we want to find the index that gives us the highest value for the highs. So we say index highest, and then we use the array max function actually, and here we just provide our highest array, and that's it. The rest of the parameters are not necessary because we want to go through the whole array, and we also want to find the lowest, of course, in the lows array, and here we use the array minimum function. So all we have to do now is we have to say range high, and here we can say it will be in the highest array at index highest, and we use range low, it will be in the lows array at index lowest. So if we now say print range high and print we want to print the range low, and we compile it like this, then we can go to our MetaTrader, and here we should see that we print the highest and lowest point between 3 and 6 a.m. So let's quickly check this. I think the highest point should be at 3. So if we open the data window here, we can see the high and the low here. So at 3 there was the highest point. Wait, I need to go to the minute chart, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So let's find 3. Yeah, it is actually at 3 o'clock, and it was the high that we see in the experts journal and also in the data window at the right side. So this is correct. And now until 6, we want to find the lowest point, and I think it is, yeah, it should be this one. It's also correct. We see it in the expert journal printed out from expert advisor, and also here in the data window. So see, that is how easy it is to find the highest and the lowest point in in the MetaTrader pretty much, or in a chart. Now all we have to do is if we want to visualize this, of course we can do so by creating an object in the chart, and we can say the name of this object should be range plus time to string, and here we just choose the range start time, for example. I think then we also need time date. Wait, it's time date. Yeah, like this should be good. And then we can say object create in the current chart, which is chart 0, with the object name we chose here, object. We want to create a rectangle in the sub window 0. The first time should be range time start. First price should be range low or range high, doesn't really matter actually. And then we have time range end and range high, like this. And this should actually create the object in the chart here. You can see it here. It will create a visualized range. So now if you want to say, for example, object set integer, you can also say, of course, object name, object prop fill should be true. I think this should fill the array, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see now the array is filled. And if you want to change the color, you can say object set integer, object prop color, and you can say, for example, color yellow, or like whatever you want. So this is how you can easily create a range, a visualized range in the chart. And also this will only work if the range is created for the first time, but it will not really update the range. So what we want to do is we want to say if object find, and then we go with object name, I think. No, chart, and then object name. If object find is smaller than 0, it means we do not find the object. Then we want to do all of this. But otherwise, we want to just update the object. So here we want to say object set double, and then we say 0 object name, object property price, and here we want to update the first price. So modifier is 0, I think. Range high or range low actually, and second one object name, object prop price, modifier 1, object range high. The modifier just tells us if we want to update the first or the second price, because here we always have to provide 2 prices, of course, to build a rectangle like this. And yeah, if we compile it, it should work. So now I want to get out of this like normal chart, and I want to go to the strategy tester. You can open the strategy tester by clicking on tools. You can click on view strategy tester. It will open the strategy tester. Then I want you to click on visualize. Here you can choose the program you want to test. We will of course want to test our Range Breakout YouTube program, or whatever name you chose. I'm gonna go with gold here. Make sure to choose the M1 chart, because we are pretty much working with the M1 chart. I mean, it's not super important. No, actually you can also choose the M15, for example, or the M5, or whatever chart you want. Yeah, let's go with the M15. And then you can choose a testing period. I will just go with the current year. And then you can also see here, you can choose to change the inputs. But for now, we just want to go like this. So I will quickly click start in the lower right corner. Download the history. And then you can see that the program is simulated on historical data. So that's how you use the strategy tester to test your actual strategy. So here we want to wait until 3 o'clock in the morning, and we can see that unfortunately nothing happens because we have an array out of range error, which means that we have to make sure that in this line we do not access an invalid index. So this is something we should only do if there are values in these arrays. So we can easily fix this. We could say, for example, if array size highs or array size lows is smaller than 0 or smaller than 1, we want to return. And here we also need to check if it's smaller than 1. So what did I do here? If this is confusing to you, I'm using an if control structure. If control structures can be used to check a specific condition and then do something if the condition is true, or not do something if the condition is not true. Or actually I also did it here already without explanation. Maybe this is an even better example. So here I first of all use this if statement. It just if, and then in round brackets the condition. So you usually compare two different values. And here I compared, for example, the return value of the object find function. And object find will return -1 if it does not find a specific object with a specific name in the defined chart. So here I check if object find is smaller than 0, because this means that the object doesn't exist. Then I want to create it. But if the value is greater or equal to 0, then the object exists already, and then I want to do something else. So it's the same stuff that I do here. Here I say if, and then I check if array size for highest array is smaller than 1, which means that basically I want to check if there are values in this array, or if array size for the lowest array is smaller than 1. So if any of these arrays is empty, then I just want to return. And return can be called from inside of a function, and it will just return the result for this function. And as I said before, functions can either return a value. In this case, it's for example an integer value, or if you use a void, it doesn't return anything. So we just say return and do not return anything. But if we compile it like this, go back to our MetaTrader 5 and click the strategy tester, start the strategy tester again. Now you can see like between 3 and 6 we do create the range, and if the range gets bigger, the range gets bigger. And yeah, that's basically it. So every single day we do see a range now, and you can see the name of this object. This range object is a range, and then the date where we create this. This is because the definition we chose for the object name. So that's how you basically every single day calculate the range and display it in the chart. And we do not only have the range, we do also still have like the range high, range low, etc., stored in these global variables here. So this is what we want to use now, because now after displaying all of this, we also have to open positions right. So what we want to do is again work with if statements, and here we can now say, first of all, let's get the bit price. Symbol info double is a function that we can use to specify a symbol and then get a lot of information for this specific symbol. So for example, we can get the bit price using the symbol bit identifier here. This will give us the bit price, and now we can easily check if the bit price is greater than the range high, because then we have a long breakout, or if the bit price is smaller than range low. And also this is something we actually only want to do if range high and range low do have actual values, and if the current time is greater than the range start time. So what we want to do here is we can, for example, check before we do any of this. Actually, we can also do it here, I think. We want to check if time current again it just gives us the current point in time. We used this before and I explained it. So we want to check if this is greater than the range time end, because then we want to start trading, right? And then we move all of this inside of the if control structure, and then we get the bid price. Then we check if bid price is greater than range high, or if bid price is smaller than range low. Actually, here we can also, I mean, it's not really necessary, I think, but we can also check if range high and range low are greater than 0, which means that we do have values for these variables. And then here we want to buy, and here we want to sell, right? So for buying and selling, the easiest way to do so in the MetaTrader is to include the trade.mqh file. It is a separate file that you can also find in your MetaTrader meta editor. On the left side in the navigator, go to include, then find the trades folder or trade folder, and then see trade.mqh. So this is basically just another file which holds a class definition. This goes a little bit into the topic of object-oriented programming, which I do not want to explain in this video, but just in short, it will give us access to a class which we can use to open, close, and manage positions. If you want to learn more about mql5 programming and also object-oriented programming, etc., make sure to check out my website en.bmtraining.de, also linked in the video description below this video, and you will find a complete programming course where I explain everything in much more detail than in my YouTube tutorials, and also super beginner friendly. So even if you never coded before, you will learn everything in this course. So now, since we have this trade class, I want to create a trade object. For now, in this tutorial, we just need to know that we can now use this trade object to open, maintain, and close positions. So here I can easily say trade.buy now. I want to open, for example, one lot. Here I can say trade.sell. and sell one lot. So now if we compile the program again and do another quick test just to see that positions are open, we can see once we do see the breakout here, we will open positions. The problem is just that we open like a lot of positions, actually like a bunch of positions, and yeah, that's not really what we want. So instead what we should do here is we should make sure that this only happens once per day, and we can also do this multiple times per day if we want, but yeah, maybe for now in this tutorial we just want to see maximum 1 trade per day. So we want to create a boolean variable for this, for example is trade, and now we can say once position was open, we want to say is trade is true, and this goes for buy and for sell positions, of course. So if there is any position is trade, will be set to true. And then also before we open positions, we want to check if is trade is false. By the way, these boolean variables that are just the data type that are just used, it can only be true or false, or in other words 0 and 1. So it's a very small memory that we take for this specific variable. So this will make sure that we only open 1 trade if there's the first breakout on the day. And then also we might need to make sure that here, if we see a new day, so if there's a new day, then we want to reset this is trade variable. And we can, for example, do it in the calculate times function. So here we could say, for example, we could see that before we update the range time start, we check if range time start has a different value than strike to time this, or actually then we have to move it here, because this will make sure that if there's a new day, and then of course this will return something else than the value that is stored inside of here, then we want to say that is trade will be set to false pretty much. And we could theoretically also reset the range high here and the range low. Yeah, would maybe also make sense. So if we compile it like this and we go back to our MetaTrader, then we can see that if I test the same test again, just with these little modifications, we will only open 1 trade every single day. So the first trade out breakout is realized as a trade. Here I think we don't see a trade because we don't have enough money, but this is something else I will need to take care of. So now we only saw that positions are open, but they do not have a stop loss, which is of course not really what we want. So let's take care of this also. So before or when we open the position using the buy or sell function of the ctrade class, you can say we can also specify the symbol we want to open, the price, and the SL and TP. So here I want to say we want to calculate a SL but not a TP. So to calculate the stop loss, or actually we don't really want to calculate it, we just want to say the stop loss should be the range low for buy positions, and for sell positions it should be the range high, right? So if I compile like this and do another test, there's now a lot of testing, but I just want to show you how simple changes can really make a huge difference, because now you can see every trade now has a stop loss at the other side of the range. So this is already a much better program. So now next step is we want to close positions, of course, also in profit. So this is why here, if time current is greater than range time end, we want to search for position openings. But also if time current is greater than also we only want to open positions if time current is also smaller than trading time end. But if the time current is greater than trading time end, or greater equals trading time end, then we want to close all of positions, right? And to close all positions, the best way probably is to just, I mean, there are multiple ways we could do this. We could have we could track the tickets of our Range Breakout EA that were opened by this program, or we could just say we want to close all of the positions, maybe all of the positions with a specific magic number. So this is always good to have a magic number for your program, because expert advisors can choose to open trades with a magic number. It's not really that magic, it just means that the positions that are opened by this specific expert advisor, they will have the magic number like somewhere stored in the background. So to make sure that all of our positions are open with this magic number, we need to set the expert magic number for a trade object, and we will just choose the magic from the input list here. And then now here we can say if the time is greater or equal than the trading end time, we want to loop through all of the positions in the in the account. And we can loop through it like this. So we use a simple for loop with this, which is another controlled structure. And for loops always look like this. For is just like the signal for the program that there comes a for loop. And then in round brackets, we do have 3 parts. Like the first part before the first semicolon is just the initialization. So before the for loop is actually executed or starts, we kind of create another integer variable named I, and it will be initialized with the amount of positions in this account minus 1. So if we have 3 positions in the account, I would be 2. If we have 1 position, I would be 0. Then we check the main condition of the loop between the first and second semicolon here. And it just is the main condition. So if this condition is true, whatever in the body of the for loop will be executed. So the body is between these curly brackets. So yeah, which means that just after checking this condition, the body will be executed, and then the last part here will be executed, which is after the second semicolon. So after every execution of the body of the for loop, this will happen. So in short, I will be initialized with a value, positions total minus 1, then the body will be executed if the condition is true, and afterwards I will be reduced by 1. So you can see the combination of the condition in this piece of code here makes sure that if I is reduced by 1, by the way, this is the same as writing this, it's just a shorter form. So if we reduce I by 1 every single time the loop or the for loop was processed or executed, it makes sure that at some point, if you reduce a number by 1 every single time, at some point it will be smaller or equals 0. So yeah, then it's the time when the for loop is finished, processed completely, and then we leave the for loop. So what we want to do here is we want to get the ticket, or actually no, we want to say C position info. This is another class that we can use. Again, I will not go into detail here, but this class will help us to select and work with position. So we can say position select by index. Now the index will be I. And then we can say if we, I also want to check if position magic is equal to the magic from the input list. This makes sure that we found the position of this EA. Then we use our trade object and say position close. And then we just provide the position ticket, which we can get again from the position object using the the ticket function like this. So if we compile this and go back to our program, run the same program again with yet another little modification, you can see that at 6 p.m. or 18 o'clock, the positions will be closed. And yeah, you can also see it here in the history. The exit was done at 6 p.m. So this is, this is already a working program. Like you could use this. Like you can see this is right now it's generating profits. It will not, of course, make profits every single day, but it is a very simple and effective breakout program. And yeah, so there's some more you could do. You could, for example, say here right now we trade with the same position size every single time, but you could also say you want to have a variable position size. And this is, I think, maybe the last thing I want to show in this short tutorial, because you could say, yeah, of course, here we hard-coded the lot size, but you could also say you want to have an input for this, like input integer, input double, risk. Or let's say we want to risk a specific amount of like money, like for example 50 euro per trade. And if we compile, and then now we do have this input variable. So now we can say before we open the positions, we want to calculate the lot size. And here we could create a function, calculate lots, for example, and then use this lot size to open the positions. So calculate lots. And now you can see this will not work, of course, because the calculate lots function is not defined. So we get a bunch of errors. So let's make sure to change this. At the bottom of our program, we create the calculate lots function. Make sure to realize that here I use the double as a return type because we want to return something. So if I now compile, you can see we get another problem here because now it's not void. So the program expects us to return something. So we could say return 1.0, for example. Okay, so next we want to calculate the lot size for the trades. So we will need to know for that, we need to know a few things. First of all, we want to get the tick size and the tick value, I guess. We can get this using the symbol info double. If we say symbol trade tick size, and also tick value can be received using symbol info double. Here we use symbol trade tick value. And then we want to get the actual stop loss distance. The stop loss distance is just, yeah, basically the range size, which will be the range size. Let's say range high minus range low. This will be the range size. So then we can calculate the lots or the risk per lot, which will be range size divided by tick size multiplied with tick value. So this is how much we would risk for one lot, because this tick value is based on one lot always. And then we just need to check how often we can put this into our risk. So what we want to see is we want to say risk money divided by risk per lot. And I think this should already be it. Then let's make sure to round this, normalize double to a precision of 2 or whatever your broker wants. And then we can return a lot size. This will not include like commission and stuff. So it's not like 100% accurate. Also the rounding might be a little bit different. But yeah, you can modify this if you want. But so far, this is, I think, a good mechanism to just calculate the lot size. So theoretically, we should risk always the same in this expert advisor for every single trade. So here now we can see that now the trade size should be different for every trade. Like here, for example, you can see 0.04, 0.06, and it depends. So the smaller the range is, the bigger the lot size is, of course. And yeah, of course, if we see a stop loss, then we lose around 50, because that's what we put in the inputs here as risk. As I said, it can be a little bit higher, of course, because of commission and also because of slippage, etc., etc. But it's a very simple function to calculate a variable lot size. So if I now fast forward this, you can see that, yeah, sometimes there are like big wins, sometimes there are losses, but overall I used this program for many years already and it's working out quite fine. So in the end, I just want to show you a little bit more of a long-term backtest for a few years, so you have a good understanding of what you can do with this program. Yeah, but before this, let's check the code one more time. So it's a very simple version of my Range Breakout EA. I don't want to make this a like 3-hour long tutorial. Also, as I said before, like you can use the final or a more refined version already for free at my website with my partner brokers. Or you could also learn how to create a more complex function in my programming course. Both is linked below this video. But in this tutorial, we had to look at the simple version. So we included the trade.mql5 file. We created a bunch of input variables. Again, these are the ones that the user can change also. Then we do have a bunch of global variables because we want to use them in different functions. And then we do also, yeah, we had this trade object variable. Then on init, we also set the magic expert number. This is important later on for closing the positions. Then in the onTick function, we call the calculate times and calculate range function. The calculate times function is just used to, first of all, update all of the datetime variables, the global datetime variables that we use to define where the range is and when to close the positions. And also in this function, we check if we have to reset the is_trade variable and the range high and range low. In the calculate range function, we get the range high and the range low. So we get all of the highs, first of all, for 1 minute candles between the 2 points in time. Also for the lows. Then we check if there are values already in these arrays. If there are values, we get the highest and lowest index, and then we get the highest and lowest price. And then, yeah, of course, also we can create the visual object. Actually, this is not necessary. It's just a visualization for the trader, but the program doesn't really care if there's an object in the chart or not. Then, yeah, let's talk about the calculate lots already. At this point, it's the last function that I just created. Here we get the tick size and tick value for the current chart symbol where the program is running. And again, this is always based, or especially the tick value is based on one lot. Then we get the size of the range, which is just range high minus range low. Then we get the amount of ticks in this range by dividing the range size by the tick size, and then we multiply this with the tick value. This will give us the risk for one lot, again because tick value is based on one lot always. And then we just calculate the lots that we actually want to trade by dividing by dividing our risk that we want to take by the risk per lot. After rounding, we can return the lots and we will use it in the on tick. But yeah, first of all, we want to check if we even have to open a position. For this, we check if the current time is greater than the range time N and smaller than the trading time N, and we get the bid price. We check if there was no trade on this day. We check if there was a buy breakout, so breakout above the range. Then we check, yeah, we also check if range high and range low is greater than 0. Then we calculate the lot size here using the calculate lots function to then open the position with a specific lot size, and the stop loss is at the other side of the range, and we update the is trade variable. Same thing we do for sell positions if there's a sell breakout or short breakout below the range. Then if we are, or the current time is greater or equal than the trading time end, then we loop through all of the positions. We select every position here. We check if it has the same magic number as our program, and if it's true, then we just close the position, and that's basically it. So very simple interpretation of the range breakout EA. You can add a lot more complexity, but this is already enough to trade some of the strategies that I trade. For example, I can show you that I use these exact settings, for example, in USD, Japanese yen. And here we can make a test, or let me use the quant data manager data, or I don't have it here. But yeah, if I do a test, like for example, let's say for the last 5 years here without the visual mode, with these settings from 3 to 6 and then close at 6 p.m. Then with like for risk of let's say €50, and we do it in $1,000 account. So if I start this exact program for around 5 years, for the last about 5 years, we will see this here, just the performance, because we know how it works visually. And yeah, I will quickly wait until this is done, and then give you a little brief summary. So yeah, this test is about to end. You can see roughly 5 years, no compound interest effect, and it's a very good performance. This was done using every tick based on real ticks. It's not like Dukes copy data, so I think the data quality is not very not 100%, but still, I did a lot of these tests already on this channel. You can find it with actual Dukes copy data, so it shows 100% data quality, and it's also very good. And also, this is just to show you that the program, how it can work. It's not a recommendation or anything. Do your own test, play around with this program. As I said, I use it in many symbols. I use it in USD, Japanese yen, GBP, US dollar, Euro, US dollar, gold, D for the US dollar. It's a very versatile strategy that you can use in many different charts, and it's actually one of the strategies where I can say with confidence that it worked in the last years, because I'm using this strategy for many years actually in my personal life account. So this is my experience, but yeah, it's something that is proven. It's not something of these like shallow and shady online strategies where people just say, I don't know, like do this, I tested this for 1 month. No, this is something that really has a fundament, and I hope you like this little insight. It's one of my most used strategies, one of my favorite strategies. So I hope I was able to explain a little bit how to code something like this. And again, one last time, if you want to have the final version or a more advanced version, or if you want to learn, and this is what I really recommend, if you want to take automated trading, like if you want to approach it in a professional way, there's no way around learning how to code. So if you want to learn the fastest and most efficient way, check out the links in the description of this video. You'll also find my MetaTrader 5 masterclass, where you will also learn how to write the Range Breakout Expert Advisor, but in a much more advanced version with a lot more functions and a lot more like refined efficiency. So with that being said, I hope that you are still around at this point, that you now have your own program to test out. I wish you a lot of fun and success with that, and let me know in the comments what you think. I'm out for this one. See you in the next one. Bye.